This is Math 2, 9.5 notes. That's Unit 9, Lesson 5. The title is Factor Difference of Two Squares. Number 1 is going to be a review problem of stuff that we've done in the past. I want you to multiply the quantity of x plus 7 times the quantity of x minus 7. Versus, we're also going to try x plus 7 times x plus 7. And we have talked about this in class. The difference between the two is one's plus, one's minus here, and here they're both plus. Is there a difference between the two? Let's check. Okay, so we do x times x is x squared. X times negative 7 is negative 7x. And then you do 7 there, it's positive 7x, and then negative 49. You combine your like terms, and you get x squared minus 49. This one, you also do your double distribution. X times x is x squared. X times 7 is positive 7x. And then you do it here. Positive 7 times x is another positive 7x. And then positive 49. Okay, x squared plus 14x plus 49. The middle terms do not undo each other because they are not opposites. Okay, this is the kind we're going to be focusing on today. Notice, and we've done these before in class, where when do you end up with a binomial? That was one of the questions in homework a few days back in classwork. How do you know when you're going to end up with a binomial? When these two here, we called these, when they're conjugates, when they look the same but one's plus and one's minus. Here they're not conjugates because these two are exactly the same. X plus 7, x plus 7. X plus 7, x minus 7. When this happens, the middle terms will always cancel out. You'll always end up with two terms. And the two terms you end up with will always be a difference of two squares. That's where the title comes from. Difference meaning the subtraction sign. Two terms, squares, perfect squares. There's two terms here, x squared and 49. And they are both perfect squares. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of 49 is 7. All right, so that's what we're going to be focusing on, difference of two squares. And I will occasionally call this dots for difference of two squares. All right, we are going to roll right through with examples. We're going to factor each expression. Period, check by multiplying. Okay, number 1, x squared minus 64. Okay, so let's look over here. First off, are there two terms? Yes. Is there a different sign in the middle, a minus sign? Yes. Are they both perfect squares? Yes. Is this a dots problem, a difference of two squares? Yes. All right, so let's look. How do we work backwards? What's the square root of x squared? X times x. What's the square root of 49? 7 and 7. One's plus, one's minus. That's pretty much the trick that works every time. X plus, x minus. X times x is x squared. What's the square root of 64? 8. So plus 8 minus 8, or minus 8 plus 8. It does not matter. That is your answer. All right. It says check by multiplication. Let's check. X times x is x squared. Negative 8x. Positive 8x. Minus 64. Middle terms cancel out. X squared minus 64 is the answer, which is what we started with. So again, we are working backwards like we did with the greatest common factor problems. Okay, next one. 4x squared minus 49y squared. I often will call this a double bubble, two parentheses. Okay, is this a difference of two squares? Difference, minus sign, yes. Two terms, yes. Are they both perfect squares? Yes. What's the square root of 4x squared? 2x. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. What's the square root of 49y squared? 7y. 7y, 7y. Remember, the signs have to be different. One minus, one plus. I put plus minus here, minus plus there. It does not matter which one goes first. Okay, it did say to check. Let's check. 2x times 2x is 4x squared plus, what is that? 14xy. X times y is xy. And inside here I get negative 14, again another xy. And at the end, negative 7 and positive 7 is negative 49y squared. Middle terms, add them up, they undo each other. 4x squared minus 49y squared, which is what we started with. Check. This is not our answer. This is just our check work. This is part of showing your work. So here's the deal. Whenever it says check by multiplication, this here is part of your answer. That's part of showing your work. If you don't put that, it's wrong. If you just give me that as your answer, you're like, oh, I know I'm right. Wrong. You're right, but you still get it wrong because I specifically said here check by multiplication. Okay. Number 3, z squared plus 36. If you ever see this one, don't be tempted to factor. Kids will say, oh, it's going to be z plus 6 and z plus 6. If you did double distribution, go ahead and try that on your own. Hit pause and try it and combine your like terms. Okay, if you've done everything you were supposed to, you should end up with this. And that is not z squared plus 36, so that doesn't work. If you did z plus 6 and z minus 6 and did double distribution, you'd end up with z squared minus 36, which is still not this. That does not work. It is not factorable. It is not possible. Not factorable. Remember what the title of the notes are. Difference of two squares, not the sum of two squares. Right there's a plus sign. It has to be a minus sign in order for it to be a difference of two squares. It's dots, not sots. Difference of two squares, not sum of two squares. Okay, dots, not sots. All right, number 4, 100 w squared minus 81. Dots, difference of two squares, that is a minus sign, we're good. Two terms, we're good. And they are both perfect squares. Double bubble. What's the square root of 100 w squared? 10w, 10w. Square root of 81 is 9 and 9. One's plus, one's minus, or minus and then plus. It does not matter. That is your answer, and we do have to check because it said there to check by multiplication. 10w times 10w is 100w squared minus 90w plus 90w minus 81. Middle terms, add them together, they undo each other. And I don't know if I said 10 or 100. I hope I said 100 and accidentally wrote 10. But 10w times 10w is 100w squared. Sorry if I messed anybody up. Minus 81 because the middle terms canceled out. And I almost boxed that in. That is not the answer. That is just part of my check work. This up here is the answer. This showing your work is part of your answer, but that's what gets boxed in. Okay, moving on. Here we're going to write factor completely. Factor completely. Now technically all they have to say is factor, and factor implies factor completely. But if you ever see it, it's most likely going to be a multi-step factoring. I'm going to write that down. Multi-step factoring, which means you're going to factor more than once. You're probably going to do a GCF and then a difference of two squares, and that will happen quite often. Okay, we are on number 5, and it's 3y squared minus 75. Okay. Is this a difference of two squares? Difference? Yes. Two terms? Yes. Are they perfect squares? No. It is not a difference of two squares. But notice first there is a GCF. So I'm going to tell you right now, whenever it has this Multi-step factoring, it's not going to say multi-step, but when it says factor completely, that's what you're doing. You're going to look for a GCF. I will tell you this as well, just get used to it. Always look for a GCF before you do anything else. Every single question, whenever it says factor, brain process, is there a GCF? Oh yes, 3 goes into both terms. Only 3, because they do not both have a y. Y squared minus 3 times what is 75? We just did that in class. That's 25. And then you look at this piece right here. Ignore the 3. This right here is dots, difference of 2 squares. Do you see that? Y squared is a perfect square, 25 is a perfect square. There's a minus sign in between. What's the square root of y squared? Y. Y times y. What's the square root of 25? 5. 5 times 5 minus plus, or plus minus with the 3 out front. And that there is your beautiful answer. Okay, number 6, 27 x squared minus 27. All right, GCF was what we always look for first. Now kids may think, no, there's no GCF, but 27 is a common factor for both of them. 27 times what? 27 times x squared would give me the first term, minus 27 times what is 27? 1. 27 times x squared is 27x squared. 27 times 1 is 27. And then this here again is a difference of 2 squares. So ignore the 27, double bubble. They're both perfect squares. It's a minus sign. What's the square root of x squared? X and x. What's the square root of 1? 1 and 1. Plus minus or minus plus, it does not matter. And then the 27 out front. Now, I apologize, I did not say it, but here it doesn't specify check by multiplying. If it doesn't say that, you do not have to. I just didn't do it anymore and didn't even specify. It doesn't say here. So if it doesn't say on the worksheet that you have to check by multiplying, by multiplication, you do not have to do it. Okay, number 7. 4x squared minus 100. I want you trying that one on your own. Come into class ready with questions and ready to get that one worked out. That is it for this lesson.